So this video is going to teach how we can find the circumference of a circle. Now I've drawn two circles here, and just to talk a little bit about them, every circle has what we call a radius, and the radius is just the distance from the center to the outside. And we also have a diameter. Diameter is just twice the radius. It's the distance all the way across that goes through the middle. Okay? So one thing we are interested in is what the distance around the circle is. And that is exactly what the circumference of a circle. So circumference is the distance around a circle. Okay? We actually have a formula for this, but before we go into the formula, I need to go into a special number that we call pi. Right? The number pi is an irrational number. That just means that it has decimals that go on forever and ever without a pattern. But if you want to give an approximate value for it, it's approximately 3.14. This number is very, very famous in math, and everything that uses circles involves this number pretty much. So we have a formula for the circumference of a circle that involves the radius and involves pi. The circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. 2 times pi times the radius. Or another way to write this formula down is c is equal to 2 pi r. Okay. One thing I need to point out is that this uses regular units. That means centimeters, meters, whatever it is, but you don't square the units. That's going to be only for area of a circle. Okay. Now, because pi is approximately 3.14, you never use 3.14 unless you are rounding the answer. Okay, so if they say to estimate and round the answer, that's when you use 3.14. Otherwise, you just leave your answer for pi. So let me write that down here. For an exact answer, we want to leave pi. For an approximate answer, we want to use pi to be 3.14. Okay? So we're going to practice doing a couple problems. One thing I want to point out before we start is how to relate the the radius and the diameter. Remember I said it was double that, so I'm going to put that down. The diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. That's going to come in handy in a bit when we do these problems. So find the circumference of the circles. So first problem. First problem is going to be a circle with radius 5 inches. 5 inches. Well, remember the circumference is equal to 2 pi r, which is the same as 2 pi times 5, which is 10 pi. Okay, that means that 10 pi inches, remember, don't forget the units, this is my exact circumference. And so I'm going to put a little arrow here that says exact. But let's say that your teacher wants you to put an approximate answer. Well, then we have to do 10 times 3.14, since pi is approximately 3.14. If you do that, you end up with 31.4. And so the approximate answer is 31.4 inches. This would be the approximate answer. Alright, so that's it for the first example. Let's try another one. if instead we're given the diameter? 7 centimeters. Well, if the diameter is 7 centimeters, remember diameter means it's twice the radius. That means that the radius is equal to half of 7, which is 3.5 centimeters. 3.5 centimeters. So, circumference is equal to 2 pi r, which is 2 pi times 3.5, which is 7 pi centimeters. So 7 pi centimeters would be the exact circumference. Okay, what about the approximate one? Well, we know that 7 times 3.14 would give us the approximate answer. So we actually have to multiply. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. 7 times 3 is 21. So this is 21.98 centimeters. This would be the approximate answer. I'm going to do one more. Okay? This time, if we're given a picture. So in this problem, notice that we are only given a picture. We need to ask ourselves, is this the radius or the diameter? Turns out this is the radius, right? Because it goes from the middle. Remember, the circumference is equal to 2 pi times the radius, which in this case is 2 pi times 2, which is 4 pi meters. This would be the exact answer. Next, we're going to do the approximate one. 4 times 3.14. Let's see what we get. 16, 5, 12. So we get 12.56 meters. This would be the approximate answer. That is it for circumference, and make sure you watch the other video on area of a circle to get that cleared up if that's where you're lost. Thanks for watching and good luck. So this video is going to teach how we can find the circumference of a circle. Now I've drawn 2 circles here, and just to talk a little bit about them, every circle has what we call a radius. And the radius is just the distance from the center to the outside. And we also have a diameter. Diameter is just twice the radius. It's the distance all the way across that goes through the middle. Okay? So one thing we are interested